It's bold and it can fold. Today we're talking about the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold2. Stephen Fenech from Tech Guide here, and we've been using the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold2 for a couple of weeks now. It's a foldable device, it's a smartphone and a tablet in one. On the front there's a 6.2 inch screen, and that opens up to a 7.6 inch inner display. So it's the idea of having a phone when you need it, but then when you unfold it, it's a tablet. So you can view content on a grander scale. You can multitask. We'll show you that a bit later. But it's a device that's meant to be more than just a phone. It's a phone, it's a tablet. How well it does each, we'll discover in this video. It's an interesting proposition because it's really good at doing some things, but not as good as a regular smartphone at others. And that depends on what apps you're looking at, how you want to use your phone. It is pretty easy to use it one-handed, but often you got to stop and you need to open it to complete some tasks. So it's kind of a best of both worlds, but also the worst of both worlds in some instances, because this doesn't do things as well as a regular smartphone, yet it does some things way better than a regular smartphone. So if you can find that middle ground, which we think we did, then you're going to really enjoy using the Galaxy Z Fold2. We've been using the Galaxy Z Fold2 for a couple of weeks now, and we've enjoyed it. But who is the typical user for the Fold2? You're either someone who likes to multitask on the go, or run a lot of apps at the same time, get a lot of stuff done. On the other hand, if you're a content consumer, that's also a great way to use the device, because you do have that larger inside screen to view your videos, your email, your photos, framing up your photos, shooting your videos. It does give you a much bigger venue to do those sorts of things. So if you happen to be both of those things, then the Galaxy Z Fold2 is right up your alley. The screen on the front of the Galaxy Z Fold2 is far better than that of the original. The original had a 4.6 inch screen that was virtually unusable. It was very hard to type. While this is a larger screen, it is a lot easier to do things. Still a little bit difficult to type. It's not quite the right width, the same width as a regular smartphone. So still the front screen does have its limitations. But the good news is, of course, if you do want to do things, have a bit more room to move, then this larger 7.6 inch screen does come into play. Now, the inside screen, you may notice here, there is actually a thin layer of glass on the display, and what that does, it gives the screen a bit more gloss. It makes it look more like a regular glass display. So it does add to the quality and the look of your content. The large screen also doesn't have that ugly notch. Remember, on version 1 it had this ugly notch in the top right hand corner, and that really impeded your room to move on that inside screen. So all you have now is just this little hole punch screen, this little hole punch for the front facing camera. So that basically leaves the inside of the device virtually uncluttered to view your content. For doing things at a glance, this front screen is fine for answering your calls, looking at email, looking at your messages, notifications, things like that. Compared to the last version of the Fold, the first edition I was probably 20% using the front screen, and then I had to open up the device to do those other things that I needed to do. But with the Galaxy Z Fold2, I found I was probably 50-50. I would be using the front screen half the time and then deciding to use the inside screen when I wanted to watch content or I wanted to type out something. So they've done a great job at improving that experience, especially that front screen. Yes, it is narrow. Some of your apps don't appear normally as they should in that shape screen, but it is more like a regular smartphone than the inside screen. The inside screen is actually quite square, And what you're seeing inside here, you're seeing actually less content, but just on a larger scale. So having the normal, the longer, narrower screen is a great way of using your apps, including apps like Instagram. You see a bit more content. It is smaller, but you see more. Facebook, all of your regular apps on this front screen do appear like they would on a regular smartphone. And then when it was time to move to the inside screen, we found that the apps that were open on the front, when we had them open on the front screen, would follow to the inside, so that continuity would be there. On the design side, the Galaxy Z Fold2 is slightly thinner and smaller than the previous model. It still is, though, basically two smartphones stacked on top of each other. So it is a little more bulky than you would experience with a regular smartphone. It's while it's narrower here, it is thicker on the hinge. So those two layers do add up to a thicker device, but still not too bulky. Wasn't a burden to carry it around. I still fit it in my back pocket quite easily. But just remember, you are kind of getting two phones in one, and that's reflected in the design. Another big improvement for the Galaxy Z Fold2 is in the hinge. This has seen a lot of changes since the original. Number one is there's like a sweeper mechanism inside the hinge that allows it to clear out any debris or keep it clear of debris every time it's open and closed. So you'll see how it does do a lot of the work, or does all the heavy lifting to keep that screen, all the layers of the screen in place. But the difference this time as well with the Galaxy Z Fold2 is that the hinge can actually stay open at different angles. So you'll see here that I can open it to any angle and even rest it on a surface. So it will now stay open however I like. And that powers a new feature called Flex Mode, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But the hinge is another massive improvement. But let's talk about multitasking. That's one of the great advantages of having a screen of this size. So you can run up to 3 different apps at the same time with the Galaxy Z Fold2. So let's start off, let's get our browser happening. There's our website, Tech Guide. But if we want to bring in another app, we sweep in from the side, and let's say we need our calculator. Let's bring that in. So drag and hold it, and now we're going to position it on the right. And then suddenly we have our website on the left and our calculator on the right. But there's more. If you want a third, you can also bring in another app. Let's bring in YouTube. So we're going to put YouTube up here. And there it is. So now we've got YouTube, we've got a calculator, and we've got our browser. And what we can do in this situation is actually move them around. So we can actually switch them around on the screen so that we might prefer our browser down the bottom. Or you know what? Well, no, we prefer it back where it was. So that moves around there as well. So this is another example of how this big screen can be used. You might have email on one side. You might have Facebook or Twitter, everything running at the same time, but it can handle easily up to 3 apps at the same time. Now you remember earlier I told you about the redesigned hinge and how it can stay open at any angle. This really comes into play for Flex Mode. Flex Mode allows you to sit the Fold2 open at a certain angle, and different apps have actually been optimized to use this mode. So in this instance, Flex Mode comes in really handy if you want to take a selfie. So what we'll do, when we fold it, you'll see that the image has gone to the top half of the phone and all the controls are here at the bottom. So if we do want to take a selfie, we simply aim ourselves up, and all you need to do is actually open up your palm and it'll recognize you want to take a selfie. And there it is. That's the photo we just took in Flex Mode through the camera. Another great use of Flex Mode is with the YouTube app. So you can either watch your video in full screen mode like this, or if you wanted to, and you want to maybe rest it on a surface, you can then fold the phone. So you'll see the videos in the top half here, and it can just rest on a surface. You can angle it up to at a comfortable position and watch your videos like that. On the camera side, the Galaxy Z Fold 2 has a similar system that you'll find on the S20. There's a camera system here on the back, a triple lens system, but there's also a camera on the front of the phone right here. So that's your front facing camera, but there's also an inside camera. So if you open her up, you'll see here there's another inside camera. But the feature that I like the most is being able to show the person who I'm taking a photo of their image on the front screen, so they can pose, they can see what they look like before I take the photo. So if we're going to do that, I just got to press this, turn that front screen on. So now you'll see the screen is on right here. So not only can I take your photo, but you can actually see what you look like as well on the front screen. So you'll be looking your best. Great if you've got a child, maybe you want them to look at the camera. You can get them to focus on that front screen. Just makes taking your photos a lot easier. On board the Fold 2 is a 4,500 milliamp hour battery. It's actually two batteries that are connected. So there is a battery on this side of the phone and also on the other side of the phone. And they add up in capacity to 4,500 milliamp hours. In terms of usage, easily got us through the entire day and just into the next day. Not as good as a regular smartphone, or the Note 20 Ultra, for example, that had day and a half battery life. You got to remember, the Fold 2 is powering a screen on the front and that big screen inside as well. So in terms of the power usage, it does have a lot more to do. The Galaxy Z Fold 2 is a very impressive device. In fact, when I showed it to people, they were fascinated with the form factor. They were amazed that I could actually open up the device to show a larger screen and then fold it up again so that it looks like a regular smartphone. So in terms of impressing your friends, the Galaxy Z Fold 2 will do just that. So there you have it, the Galaxy Z Fold 2. Now, it's not a smartphone for everyone. It's not at everyone's budget. It's 2,999 Australian dollars. But if you're a multitasker, if you're a content creator, if you're a content consumer, or all of the above, then the Galaxy Z Fold 2 could be the ideal device for you.